Yes.
Snoop did an interview a while ago, and he said that when Tupac first played "Hit 'Em Up" for him the first time, that he told Tupac, "I'm not messing with that song. I'm not feeling it." That he said that Tupac was making timeless music, and that this was just something that would come and go because he was like, and I was right because now, nobody wants to hear that song because Tupac's gone, Biggie's gone, and everybody found out that Biggie had nothing to do with what Tupac accused him of.
Yeah.
I would love to get your thoughts on that.
I think Snoop he has a tendency to somehow, first of all, when you are a friend of an individual and your friend dies, you should always want to remember your friend in a positive way. You understand? So if Snoop, the friend of Tupac, he do it in a way where he don't want the people to think he's speaking negative or hating on Pac, but he do it in a way. Maybe he tried to do it as if he giving advice, but he always seemed to put Pac down. Pac is not here to defend himself. You know what I mean? That's not how a friend behave. You know what I mean? Once a person pass away, even if he has some negative with him and you don't agree with certain things, now is not the time to bring this up. You know what I mean? So, when Snoop say things like that, it just make people who was there reflect and say it wasn't true. Because when Pac did hit him up, for example, I'm 45 years old as a Muslim. I don't agree with I don't agree with many of the things I did in the past, especially as a rapper. I don't agree with hit him up. You know what I mean? Right now, if I think about hit him up, you know what I mean? As a 45-year-old father, I would say hit him up. It's crazy. But back then, we all agree with it. Snoop agreed with it because that's what we was doing back then. Snoop was doing songs dissing Biggie as well. You know what I mean? So it wasn't just Pac, as Snoop trying to say Pac was the only one doing it. Back then, we all was immature. We all was young. We all was a little ignorant. So that's what we was doing back then. You know what I mean? So I think it's nothing wrong to say, okay, back then I agree with it, but it's okay to say now that I'm mature, I grew up. It probably be taken more genuine if Snoop would say, now that I'm a father, a grandfather, you know what I mean? I'm mature now. I don't agree with hit 'em up now. But to make it seem like you didn't agree with it back then is not true. You know what I mean? Because you was vibing to it in the studio. He was also doing songs dissing Biggie. You know what I mean? This is why I said it's very important that we have to take accountability for what we done. You know what I mean? In a way where you can say, look, we did these songs. You know what I mean? The lyrics back then was crazy. Now, as a mature individual, we don't agree with it. This is how you teach the kids. You know what I mean?
And Snoop has a tendency, speaking of accountability, to say that he was the reason that Tupac came to death row. That Tupac really didn't know Suge. That he came to death row because Snoop told. I mean, he kind of did. If you
Yeah.
ask me, he kind of did a little bit of a sneak diss because he said, I was hearing rumors about Tupac in jail, and I told Suge, you need to go and get him. He needs to be over here.
Yeah, this is what I
Um,
mean. It's
yeah.
always putting Pac down when he's not here to defend himself, and that's not what a friend do. You know what I mean? A friend, you know, you try to paint your friend in a positive light, like you know, he still had family. Pac had family. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to always put him in a negative way, he's not here to defend himself. You know what I mean? Um, Pac wasn't having no problems in jail, despite what people say. We know that for a fact. You know what I mean? As the Outlaws, we was visiting him weekly. We knew people that was locked up or had friends that was locked up in the time of Pac, so he didn't have any problems in jail for sure.
Okay. And did you ever witness him, Pac and Suge being cool before Tupac got to death row? Because it's ironic the timetable because when Snoop made the statement, he said that he told Suge this after the Source Awards, but at the Source Awards, they had already had a cutout of Tupac in the jail cell on the stage because that was like the set for that particular award show was they were all coming out of cells, and
True.
they already had Tupac one, and Suge actually got on stage and said, Tupac, keep your guards up, we're riding with him, and then he went in and said the infamous stuff, where he talked about
Yeah.
Puffy. Do you have any early memories
They had some
of Tupac
relationship.
and Suge? Okay.
Him and Suge had some relationship. They had some run-ins. I think, of course, one of the what was it, Above the Rim soundtrack. They did some business together. Um, I believe Suge tried to sign Pac when he used to roll with, you know, the Thug Life homies like Rated R, Macadocious, and them from on the 40s, Big Psych from Inglewood. Pac used to run with them, and when he ran, Suge wanted to sign him back then. You know what I mean? From what I heard, and Pac wasn't ready, so they definitely knew each other. You know, Pac and Suge definitely had a relationship. The level of that relationship, I'm not sure, but they knew who each other. You know, they knew each other.